service-disabled, minority, or woman-owned businesses. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, good. I've got the right room. We will be going through different parts of this throughout the day. There will be parts that apply directly to you. There will be other parts that don't, and that's okay. You'll get a feel for the overall picture. Government is sometimes a little bit difficult to maneuver, and so we're going to try to get some of those obstacles out of your way so that you'll be able to do business easily with Metro. Anybody here that has never done any business or never submitted a proposal? Are any of those here? Okay, good, good. Hopefully we will make your life much easier. As we go through this morning, Rick Brown, who is the assistant purchasing agent, will be walking you from the very beginning, when you start to register, all the way to the time you submit your proposals and awards are made. So you'll be able to see the entire lifespan of it. There are a number of steps in there, and we want to be sure that you understand each one and why they're there. And then Michelle, I think, is going to be leading the section on the Business Assistance Office and how we have two major programs. Now, I want to be sure that you understand they are two separate programs. There is one for small and service disabled, and that's a cost incentive program. And it sits over here in one section, and it can be used a certain way. And then we have another program for minority and woman-owned businesses, and that's an outreach program. They're going to be somewhat different. So as you listen to those, be sure you walk away with a clear understanding of the two different programs. As we go through the purchasing part, we're going to take you everything from the very basics of what procurement is and how it operates, all the way through the solicitation process, your process of submitting proposals or bids, how those will be evaluated, how they'll be awarded, and then go into the contracting phase and talk a little bit about how that contracting takes place. We'll also touch on something called protest and appeals. Only in government do you have protest and appeals. In the private sector, you might get a chance to debrief, sit down with them, find out why you didn't get a contract. In the process that the government offers, you actually can protest it. Now, there's always a tendency to wait to the end and protest it at the end. You can protest at any point during the process. In fact, I would say it's better to protest early. There are a lot of things that take place, like people's submissions of bid pricing and all that. They get out there. If you protest at the end, you're going to sit there and go, well, you already know what my pricing is. Well, yes, because that's when the protest took place. If you protest earlier, we have the opportunity to address the concern and possibly solve it before the process goes any farther. That way, there's never really a reason for a complete protest hearing. We want it to be sure that it's fair, that it's competitive, and that everyone has equal access to the process. So again, never wait just to the end, although you still have that administrative right. Look at the whole process as you go through it. As you look at the procurement process, what I want you to walk away with is that you have a very clear understanding, as you leave today, of what is the process of submitting a proposal. That's a key part that you have. When you're submitting it, be sure you're answering what the bid or the proposal has in place. If there are parts in there that you're vague on, that you're thinking you're going to have to just reach out here and make it up, don't do that. Be sure that you're understanding what the question is and how it's going to be evaluated. You have opportunities to raise questions throughout the process, and so we want you to exercise that. So when you leave here today, I want you knowing what is the bid process, what is the proposal process. I want you knowing how to submit a proposal or a bid, how it's going to be evaluated, whether it's a bid or a proposal, and there are differences, and then how it will be awarded. There are a number of different types of contracts, and so I think they may be touching on that. And then as we go into that section with the BAO, where you're talking about the two different programs, I want you to be sure that you walk out with a clear understanding of the program that is a cost incentive and the program that is an outreach program. Two separate issues on that. I think you're going to have fun. I hope you will, because it's important to me that you're able to do business with Metro. Being a native Nashvilleian and watching this city grow, there are days when I get very frustrated when I have to be on this side of town and have to go the other side of town, and I can't get there because of all the trucks and the roads that are torn up and construction going on, and I get frustrated. I used to hate what used to be fanfare because I couldn't drive across the city. I have a new appreciation for that now. It is signs of growth, it is signs of prosperity, and this city is really at a point where it's just emerging. And so I want us to have a good opportunity to do business in a city that has that much promise. Hopefully you share that same excitement about where the city is headed. All right, with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Jerval, and Jerval is going to be doing a icebreaker. Hopefully you'll have fun. And again, I don't want this to be a talking head day. This should be something that is engaging. I don't know how the questions are going to be done. Are they asking as they go or at the end? Questions are going to be at the end, so write them down so that you get your questions answered. Right.
Thank you. Good morning again. We're going to be a little busy for a couple of moments. If I could ask everybody to put their drinks and portfolios down, make sure their hands and laps are free, please. And we would like for everybody to be participatory. Drinks too. Okay, we're about to participate in an icebreaker. And this particular icebreaker is called, Who Are You? Since we have such a large group, we're going to change it up a little bit. So I'm going to give you an example for you all to practice. And what the object of this particular icebreaker is that I'm going to give you a series of preference questions. If your preference is the first option I provide to you, you will stand. If your preference is the second option I provide to you, you will sit. It will alternate for each question. So first question may be a stand, the second question may be a sit for you. So you're going to be going up and down, so I need you to be ready. So we're going to start as an example. Do you prefer rain or sunshine? Okay, let's try it again. I knew we needed an example. Okay, let's try it again. If your first preference if your preference is the first option, you stand. Okay? If your preference is the second option, then you will stay seated or sit. Depends on where you are at the time of the question. So do you prefer sunshine? Okay. Or clouds? Do we need another one? So you all kind of have the concept? Okay, we're going to begin. You got to pay attention. Everybody begin sitting down, please. Yes, please be careful if you're in a chair with wheels. Do you prefer winter or summer? Uh-oh. Who prefers winter? Then you should be standing. Right. If you prefer summer, then you should be sitting. Okay, awesome. Do you prefer success or failure? Everybody should be standing. Sweet or salty? Hawaii or New York? Collaboration or solo? No squatting. Pop music or R&B? It's not the same. It's not. Are you a morning person or a night owl? Electronic or paper? All right. Talk or text? Startup or experience? Transformers or superheroes? Do you prefer the Transformers or superheroes? Pizza or cheeseburgers? Cotton or silk? Are you an introvert or an extrovert? No, extroverts sit down. Introverts stand. American made or foreign made? Keep or throw away? Small or large? Goods or services? I'm going to say it again just in case. Goods or services? Purse or wallet? I need that gentleman in the back that said purse to stand up again, please. Vanilla or chocolate? Toddlers or teenagers? RSVP or freelance? This should have allowed you the opportunity to get to know the people around you and a few of their preferences, as well as getting your blood moving this morning. We hope that you get a lot out of today's session, and I'm going to pass the mic over to Rick. No, I apologize, to Starla Friedman.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? No? I guess all you, can you hear me now? Hello? Did she turn it off? Can you hear me now? Okay. Good morning. I'm Starla Friedman, and I am the Procurement Applications Manager, and I'm going to talk to you today about registering an iSupplier. iSupplier is our supplier portal where all businesses or individuals who want to do business with Metro must register. Well, that's not working either. Okay. Like I said, every supplier, if you want to do business with Metro, you have to register online. And the more suppliers we have, the happier we are, better for Metro and better for the city of Nashville. As you can see at the bottom there is the link where you would go to register. Let's go to the next one. Once you go to our iSupplier and click on iSupplier registration, this is what your screen will look like. And also, just so you'll know, anything that is a required field will have an asterisk there. So that gives you an idea of what is required to register. The system will not allow you to move forward unless you complete all required fields. Also, I know you can't see it very well, but the second field is your tax country, and this causes a lot of problems with suppliers whenever they're registering because they want to type that in, but the system will not take it if it's typed in when you type in United States. So there is a magnifying glass right there, and so what you would need to do is you would need to use that magnifying glass and search for the United States and select that, and then the system will let you move forward. We're not going to go through every single area up there, but that's just to give you an idea of what it will look like whenever you go to register. Also, just some key points to go over with some issues that our suppliers do have with registering, and also once they are completely registered, logging into their system. Logging into iSupplier. First off, your username will always be your email address. That will never change. Your password we do not have access to your password, so we would just say make sure that you keep your password somewhere, where you have access to it. We can reset your password, and the system will also let you reset it yourselves, but it's a whole lot easier if you have that, with you whenever you want to log into iSupplier. And also, upon first registering within iSupplier, you are once you complete the registration, you receive an email with your login credentials. So it will tell you what your username is, which is your email address, and it will give you a temporary password. So that would be your first initial login. But after that, once you change your password, it will remain the same unless for some reason you have to reset it. Secondly, also, whenever you go to register, it's good to have all the required information there with you, such as your tax ID number. Also, to do business with Metro, you have to add a W-9 form that confirms your tax ID or your Social Security number, and an ACH form. All new businesses that want to do business with Metro must receive their payments electronically. So you have to complete an ACH form. So those are required items for registration. Next, also is to select the correct products and services. And what the products and services are the commodities that your business offers. And the reason that is so important is because whenever we have an open solicitation here at Metro, an RFQ that's going out for an invitation to bid, the system pulls those by what commodity codes or products and services that you are registered under. So if there's a particular commodity code or product and service that you offer, but you did not specify that in your supplier registration, you will not be invited to bid on that. So it's very important. If you offer 150 services or products, you can register for all of those. It's better to register for more than not enough, to make sure that you are covering everything that you offer, so that you do have the opportunity to bid on anything that Metro has for the suppliers. Next, your business classification. This right here is very confusing. To suppliers, for some reason, they want to put in a number. It's not a number field. All it is just a minor description of what types of services or goods. If you're a construction business, you would just type construction there. So there's no right or wrong answer, so to say. It is a required field, so you have to put something there, but it's just a very high-level description of what you offer within your business, whether it be goods or services. Also, again, like I said, you have to complete all fields before you're able to move forward, and all required fields have an asterisk. So anytime you see that asterisk, you know that you have to put something there. And also, if you see a magnifying glass beside any field, please utilize those. Do a search for the products and services or whatever it may be to help those magnifying glasses, or to help make your life easier within the registration process. And also, if you have any questions, if you have any types of error messages or whatever that may be, we are always here to help you. Our email address is isupplier@nashville.gov. There's always someone there monitoring that email address, so do not hesitate to email at us with whatever questions or concerns you may have. We are more than happy to help you and walk you through whatever issues you may be having. Also, if you haven't registered yet and you need to register to do business with Metro, and you have problems, or you want us to walk you through it, just send us an email. We'll call you. We'll send you. We have several guides to help our suppliers with whatever problems they may be facing, or just to get through the registration process, and we will email those to you. So please utilize that email address, and because we will help you in any way that we can. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions about registration that maybe I did not cover? No? Okay. One more thing that JaVale would like me to share with you guys is your business classification, whether you're small, minority, woman-owned business. Make sure that you select one of those and you enter the correct fields, the correct dates and your certification, and then the BA office will review that and they will, approve that for you guys. So here you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Starla. I know Starla provided you all with a lot of information, and at the end of the session, we'll have a question and answer. So as I see a lot of people taking notes, if you have questions, please make sure you jot those down so that we can review them and get answers to you. Also, the PowerPoint will be available via our website, so just as a point of note as well. And we'll have Rick Brown.
Good morning. My name is Rick Brown. I'm the Assistant Purchasing Agent with Metro Procurement. Probably more important to you is that before I took that position, I was a buyer with Metro Procurement. So I issued a lot of the solicitations and I talked directly to a lot of the suppliers. So I have an understanding of some of the plights that you have. I did hear from Jeff that a lot of you are small, service disabled, minority, and women-owned businesses. So I kind of wanted to start out a little bit with something about myself and a little bit positive for you this morning. Back in October of this past year, I had a stroke, and the doctors said it pretty close came to killing me. I was out of work for a month, and I was in the hospital for about a week. I have come back, and I'm enjoying the Metro Procurement office a great deal. But I do want to say to you that no matter what struggles you may be going through as a small, service-disabled, minority, or women-owned businesses, don't let anything keep you down. Keep struggling, keep going forward with it, because you never know what might be around the next corner. Even if you are struggling or having issues with your business, God has a plan for you and your business and will help you through that. With that, I'm going to thank you. I'm going to selfishly say now why I said that, and that is to say that we are very excited and happy that so many of you have shown up here today, because the suppliers are a backbone to what we do. Without you, we wouldn't have anything to do. So we are wanting as many as possible to register with Metro and to be in on these solicitations as we go through it. So with that, I'm going to start through and show you.
It won't do it, Rick.
It won't bring it up?
Sorry.
We can't get to the internet?
Nah, it's got a block on it.
Well, anyway, if y'all go to the internet website of nashville.gov, there is a section there that says Business Opportunities Bulletin, as you can see with the bullet here. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what that is. The BOB it's been around for a long time. We've used that terminology for a long time, but what we're mainly talking about, even though it stands for Business Opportunities Bulletin, we're mainly talking about solicitation opportunities. Any solicitation that our office puts out is shown on this website. And if you go to the website that's called Business Opportunities Bulletin under the Nashville.gov Finance area, and there's a screen there that shows you a list of every solicitation that we've put out. The solicitations, and I'll talk a little bit about that. As you can see, it shows the invitations to bid, the request for proposals, anything that we put out. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the invitation for the solicitations. Every supplier is invited to the solicitations based on the products and services codes that you enter when you're doing your profile on iSupplier. This is to say that even if you don't get that exactly right, we would like for you to say exactly what your products and services are. If there's something that you would like to bid on, because you're not invited to it, does not keep you from bidding on it. It's always listed here. If you go to that website, there's going to be an email address there for the buyer that's responsible for that solicitation. You can email them and they can invite you just like that. It's not that hard to do. So you never have any reason to not bid on a solicitation if you're interested in it. I would keep this as a favorite in your computer and just go into it all the time and look and see if there's anything that might be possible for you to bid on. As you can see, we've put and you'll get this presentation, so the site is there for you to be able to go into that. There's also a button on the Bob site that says login. And if you click on that, it's going to take you to the login for iSupplier. So you can go directly from there to go into iSupplier and quote for those solicitations. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about the procurement methodologies. Once you've registered and you're now being invited to a solicitation, there's going to be several different types that you might run into when you're going in to submit your quote. I'm not going to go into today on the actual screens of iProcurement as to how you submit a quote. You're welcome to contact your buyer associated with that solicitation, and they will be more than helpful in getting you entered into the system, show you how to submit a quote, do any of that. I would ask that if you ever run into any situation where somebody from my staff doesn't treat you with the respect that you deserve, please let me know, and I'll be glad to take care of that, because we really want you to be able to submit quotes on these solicitations. And we should be more than helpful in whatever situation that you might run into. The first thing I'm going to talk about is delegated purchasing authority. This will involve you, but it doesn't involve iProcurement. If it's less than $10,000, the departments have the authority to go out and get 3 quotes and purchase that. It doesn't involve us. They will be contacting you. It's probably a good idea for you to keep close ties or to do networking with those departments so that they know that you're out there and your products and services are available when they have to use this. If it's over $10,000, that's when our office gets involved. There has to be a solicitation. The first type I'm going to talk about is an invitation to bid, and usually that is for commodities and standard services. So if I wanted to buy all the chairs in this room, or if I wanted to, in some instances we have project-specific situations, construction situations that are small, that we know where the specifications and the line items and everything are pretty standard. Those are listed in the solicitation. You respond to that and you submit those quotes, and then it's all objective as far as determining who the awardee is. We're looking at the cost in relation to how much small, service-disabled, minority, and women-owned businesses are being used, and the fact that they are qualified to do the work and that they've done what we've asked them to do in the solicitation. If all that's taken into account, then we will award to usually the lowest bidder. It depends on how everything comes out with the small, service-disabled, and minority-owned women businesses. The request for proposal is a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and get all of this up here. This one is usually whenever there's a risky situation with Metro, a contract is involved, those kind of things, we're going to do a request for proposal. And we're going to put that out, and it requires certain criteria to be met. Those will be spelled out in the solicitation. They will be given a set number of points, and you're required when you submit those solicitations to answer each one of those. Somebody does look at those before the evaluation committee gets to them to make sure that you have answered the information correctly. Once that's determined, the evaluation committee will get them. They will subjectively score that based on the number of points that each section has in those evaluation criteria. And then the winner will be determined based on the number of points that come out of that evaluation team scoring. We also have what's called a request for qualifications. It says here that that's for professional services, but for the most part, that's usually architects and engineering. That's where you see A&E. We will put those out for architects and engineers, and occasionally we'll have a professional service, but cost cannot be a criterion there. We're strictly looking for the qualifications of that supplier to do what we're asking to be done. Cost is then when we get together, after it's awarded, we get together with the supplier and we start contract negotiations. That's when the cost will be looked at and will be negotiated with the supplier. And then those amounts are what ultimately ends up in the contract. Anytime that we have an RFP, you can pretty much bet we're going to have a contract that follows that, and I'll get into that here in just a minute. The architects and engineers, they have a pretty good lobby, and so the top 3 scores of those have to go to the mayor, and the mayor can choose between those 3. Doesn't necessarily have to be the top scorer. The mayor makes that decision, and we go with what decision he makes. We also have what's called a sole source. There's not a solicitation that's done for that, but the department has determined that there is either one particular brand or there is only one supplier that can supply what we're looking for. If it's a brand that the department says they have to have, we will usually do a solicitation to put that out to every retailer that will supply that particular brand. So there will be a solicitation process there. They do have to fill out a form justifying that is the only brand that they can have, can't have anything else, and that's approved by the purchasing agent. Once that's approved, then we go forward with a solicitation. If it's a sole source and they determine that this is the only supplier that can provide this service, they have to justify that in a form. The purchasing agent has to approve it, and we go directly to a contract. We contact that supplier and we go directly to a contract with them. We also have occasionally, and we just had some of this instance with all the winter weather that we've had here, the emergency purchases, and that one of the 3 possibilities listed there has to be justified by the department. Either public safety, public health, or public welfare is being threatened by what's happened. If they can justify that and submit an emergency purchase form, the department can go out and get whoever they need to come in and fix that particular situation so that we can take care of whatever is being threatened, the public safety, welfare, or the health. One thing about that, the purchasing agent on all the others that I've talked about takes responsibility for those. This one is strictly on the department head. So if the department fills out an emergency form and says they've got to have this, the liability is on them if anything goes wrong in that solicitation. The last thing I was going to talk about is that we have to do with solicitation types is the cooperative contracts. We have some statewide contracts that we piggyback off of that we can use. We have other cities, and we have purchasing cooperatives. There's a lot of large purchasing organizations that have gone out and got contracts and keep those on their website. You know, if there's one of those that we find or that we're made aware of, the purchasing agent can approve for us to use that as an additional offer to those that we get through the solicitation process. So they have to be competitive just like any of the suppliers that we have. We can't just say, okay, we're going to use them. We say, they're an offer, here, compare them to the others. If they win, they win. If they don't, they don't. Okay, we've now put out all of our solicitations, and you have all responded to the ones that you need to, and we have gone through the award process, either evaluating the criteria in our RFP or just awarding to you based on the cost that you've submitted for an ITB, and we're now ready to enter into business with you to do what it is that we've asked you to do. One of the things that can happen here, and usually this is from an ITB, we can get a purchase order. The purchase order has terms and conditions attached to it. When we issue a purchase order directly to the vendor to go ahead and start work, the minute you accept that purchase order and you start the work, you've accepted those terms and conditions. So you need to look at those. You're also asked in the solicitation, there will be a copy of them there. So you're asked to accept those in the solicitation. So you've had several chances before you actually start doing the work to look at the terms and conditions and say, yes, I accept those, or no, I don't. Usually at the solicitation is where we want you to say if you have some issue with that. I will say that our legal department doesn't make a lot of changes to those. There has to be some really justifiable reasons for them to change that. So usually on purchase orders, the vendor just accepts them and we move on with doing business with them on that. The T's and C's that are attached to the PO, they're just as binding as any contract. You don't actually sign anything. You receive the purchase order electronically. The T's and C's will be in the solicitation, but they will also be attached to the PO. You need to make sure that you see those. They're just like any other contract. It's just not necessarily requiring your signature. You're receiving that electronically. Now I'll get to a contract. This is with RFPs most of the time. Occasionally we have done some contracts with ITBs, but for the most part, RFPs are risky enough that we will require a contract. They have very specific terms and conditions to that contract. Legal has approved all of our contract templates. Those will be attached to the solicitation when you're submitting on it. That's part of the solicitation. It asks you to read those terms and conditions and to either accept them as they are or to let us know if you've got some issues. If you let us know that you've got some issues, I will say the evaluation committee can take that into account. I'm not saying that they always do, but depending on the types of issues that you may have with our terms and conditions, that could affect the score that they give you in their evaluation. The contract, it will always have a fixed total price. We will sometimes have the indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. Sorry, I had to look at that to make sure. IDIQ is what we know it by. But that one usually will be a multiple year contract. And we will have fixed line items on that. Even though it's a 5-year contract and the line items are fixed, we are required to have a maximum value to that contract. So there will be a determination made to the maximum value of that contract. If that's reached, there is an amendment that will be required for that. But for the most part, our contracts will have a fixed total price, or they will have a fixed line item price and a contract maximum value. Either way, if we reach that amount, we have to work with the vendor and we have to get amendments done to those contracts. The IDIQ usually goes for 5 years. That's as far as we can go in Metro. We can't extend it out farther than that. So those types of contracts we'll usually do for 5 years, and it's usually just about every department in Metro will use it. So those are there to be taken advantage of by everyone in Metro. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about some specific terms and conditions that are in the contract. The first one really affects you. It's concerning the payment terms. If it's a small service disabled business, they get net 15. So the other option is usually net 30. If you see anything come to you that has something less than or something more than net 15 and you're a small or service disabled business, approved. Michelle just said it must be approved through her office, a small and service disabled business. They will immediately set the payment terms for net 15. But we are responsible for making sure that the contracts have the correct payment terms in them. If you get any contract and you're a approved small or service disabled business and you don't see net 15, you need to let somebody know so that we can make sure that we fix that. There is a termination clause in every contract that we do, and there's 3 reasons that we can do it. We can terminate for cause, we can terminate for convenience, or we can terminate because there's no longer funding available. Those are pretty standard. They will be in every single contract that we do. And I just wanted to make you aware of those, that we do have that ability. If you'll write that down, and they're going to take the questions at the very end. Please take that, make sure we get that one. All right, the last one I wanted to talk to you about was escalation, de-escalation. There is, especially when we're talking about the IDIQ contracts, where they're going for 5 years, we will be working with the vendor to say how the pricing is going to work for that 5 years. So I just wanted to make you aware that we will be looking at that and making sure that the contract and the pricing exhibit, which will be included with the contract, explains any escalation or de-escalation clauses that need to be in there. You need to work closely with the buyer on that. We need to make sure that when the contracts are done, that the pricing is for the full 5 years and that everybody's happy with how that's going to turn out. Next thing I wanted to talk to you about is some contracting resources. We have a couple of places that you need to be aware of if you're going to be doing contracting with us. The first one is called E-PAV. This is a search engine, which is, we're looking forward to that as much as you probably should be. This is, if you have any questions about contracts that Metro has, there's going to be a website. It's not there yet. We're close. And it should be coming up on the website. There should be some notice on there to let you know that it's coming out. But just keep looking for that. It is a search engine of all of our contract databases. There's going to be several different criteria listed there that you'll be able to search on. You'll be able to search on the company name, the contract number. You'll even be able to look at the departments if a certain department has a contract. There's a keyword search. There's a description search. There's a lot of different ways that you should be able to search those contracts. I know currently we have an active contract list out there, but that's only as good as we can stay on top of it. This will be online real time, so you will be able to see it as contracts are done. You'll be able to see that. Hopefully, like I said, that will be soon. Just be on the lookout for it. the website is the place where that will be if you've got that coming up available, when you have that coming up available to you. I think you'll like it. We get a lot of questions about contracts and whether we've done them, where we are on them, what do you have on this. This will be very good, not only for us, but for you to be able to search anything you want as far as what we have available currently. And when, most importantly, when those contracts are going to be coming up for rebid so that you can be sure to get involved in that. The last contract source I want to talk about is DocuSign. We're using that strictly as a contract routing system. It's put in and sent to all the many signatures that are required to be on that contract. There's a lot with Metro. There's usually one with the vendor. They are in that process, so you will be receiving emails from DocuSign if you're doing contracts with Metro. When you go in and it's pretty self-explanatory when you get it. It walks you through where you need to sign. You're able to look at it, make sure you feel comfortable with it. But let me say, no matter what you do, please don't reject anything. If you get that, hopefully all the questions have been ironed out already about that contract. If for some reason you get it and something hasn't been worked out, something that you have a question about, please contact your buyer and work that out. Don't reject it in DocuSign. Let them know what the issue is. We will go back through, do what we need to do to get that contract headed back through the process correctly. But if you reject it, it just causes a whole lot of issues. So just wanted to make sure that under no circumstances do you ever reject any contract that comes to you. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about is protests and appeals. After we have awarded, and I'll talk about protests first, you have 10 days from the date that that award notification is made to protest. You should be notified as soon as the award notification goes out to the winner. The losers are also notified. You need to, if you're going to protest, get something in writing to the purchasing agent within 10 days. What this is pretty much the process according to the code and regs that's there for the protest. I would tell you that I would have showed you, but I can't. If you go into the website for purchasing, there is a place on the left that says About Us. If you click on About Us, at the very bottom of that screen is a PDF of both the code and the regulations. That governs every single thing that we do. So if you have any question before you do a protest, please look at that and make sure that your protest is including some violation of something that's happened in either of those code or regs, because that would be the basis for your protest. That governs everything that we do. The purchasing agent has the ability to make the decision about the protest of whether or not it's valid or he upholds what the buyer has said. Either way, he makes that decision in writing to everyone. Which leads me to the next one. Once you have received the decision from the purchasing agent in writing, if you disagree with what they've said, or if you disagree with the policies that they've employed in putting together their decision, again, go back to the codes and regs. That's what they're constantly looking at. You have 7 days to submit something in writing to appeal that. And it goes before the appeals board, and they're actually looking at, did the purchasing agent follow the codes and regulation? in making their decision. So once again, those codes and regulations, they're very important to us, but they're also very important to you. You need to know those, and I gave you the website reference as to where they are.
Can you say that one more time?
If you go to the website, you have to go to Finance, then Purchasing, and then About Us. And on the About Us page, there should be a PDF to the codes and the regulations. The appeals board will make a written decision, and at that point, they've made their decision. I did want to say on the protest, it depends on whether it's in the best interest of Metro or not as to whether we stay that contract. A lot of times the contract will be stayed, but if it's in the best interest of Metro to go ahead and proceed, we will possibly do that. And with that, I think I am done, and I was going to turn it over to the Business Assistance Office. Thank you.
Thank you very much. How is everybody? Good. My name is Michelle Lane. I manage Metro's Office of Minority and Women Business Assistants here in Metro. We've got some very specific charges as a business assistance office. The procurement code Rick has talked to you about really is a roadmap for us. It tells us what we can and what we can't do. And the code lays out the duties of our office pretty clearly. Before I go into the duties of the BAO and the programs that we administer, I want to say that I hope you had a good opportunity to learn some things about how we do business with Metro. I'm going to talk about how we work for you within Metro, but it really helps if you fully understand the process. I call it navigating the Metro mix. You know, it can take some time to really understand how to do business with Metro, what kinds of things we buy, what kinds of things we don't buy. Can you sell those things directly to Metro, or can you sell them to a contractor who's doing direct business with Metro? And sometimes it takes a little bit of time to learn all of that. So these training courses or classes are really good opportunities for you to get familiar with that process. And then when you come and you talk to us about some specific issues within the procurement process, or have some specific questions about how you can be more competitive in that process, it really is from a standpoint of information, because you do have a pretty good clue of how we're doing and what's, you know, how we're buying, or and then how you should be fitting in within that. So talking about the Business Assistance Office, also laid out in the code as the Office of Minority and Women Business Assistants. We say BAO because the alphabet soup can leave you with a mouthful, so BAO is easy. Our office is charged with administering the Procurement Non-Discrimination Program. We manage the functions of Metro's Small Business Program. So Jeff Gossage, who you heard from at the very beginning, our Chief Procurement Officer / Purchasing Agent / the person you want to make sure that you know so you can blow his email up about any questions that you have. He's going to love that I told you that. Anyway, he is charged by the code with making certain that Metro has a small business program. He has delegated that to the Business Assistance Office to manage that process. We are also charged with making policy recommendations related to both of these programs, and we'll talk about those programs in a little more detail. We provide business development and engage in business outreach. So this is an example of outreach for us. I mean, we want to make sure that you know about Metro, how to do business, and have an avenue to really ask questions and better engage yourself in that process. We prepare quarterly and annual business utilization reports where we can kind of tell people how we're doing. You know, we do a lot of work. We do a lot of outreach, and you know, we do a lot of business development, one-on-one consultations, and et cetera. To what end? You know, how is that actually truing up by the way of actual utilization with the city? So we produce reports that detail that information. There are 6 of us who work in our office. I manage the work. Javal Watson in the back manages our business development and outreach activities. Judy Cantlin, when she goes away to Disney every year for a week, I cry because I miss her so much. She's our administrative services officer, and she's really the point of contact for a lot of folks who are getting information, requesting lists, requesting information about getting approved as a small business, et cetera. So she's kind of a front person that you'll see as you engage with our office. We also have Brian Gleason, who is responsible for contract compliance, Deborah Robinson, who assists with business development and outreach, and a procurement technical assistance person who is Joanne Carr, who's also in our office. So there are 6 of us working to assist you. You didn't tell me the clicker didn't work, Rick? Okay, let's talk about our programmatic approach a little bit. And I'm not going to be long-winded, but I really do want to make sure that you know when we think about how we're doing business with, how you do business with the city of Nashville, we look at it from the standpoint of kind of a 5-pronged approach. The very first thing that's, kind of key is doing that business development and outreach. We call it tilling the soil, making sure that we have a steady pipeline of vendors who know about doing business with Metro, who are interested in doing business with Metro, and are able to come to the table. The next piece of that is ensuring that those folks, via a business status confirmation process, are who they say they are. So you heard Rick talk about one of the specific contract terms being around payment. What we commit to you is that within 15 days of receiving an acceptable invoice, every approved small, minority, woman-owned, or service-disabled veteran-owned business will get paid on that invoice. And that is one of those things that is a benefit of having had your business status confirmation or verification done. We are engaged in the procurement process. We work in, the ITB reviews. We're engaged also in the RFP evaluation committees. We confirm compliance with our procurement non-discrimination program, ensure the status of small businesses in our incentive-based program. So that piece is important. So you've got the first step, the business development and outreach, ensuring you are who you say you are, representing in the procurement process, and then after the procurement process, ensuring that what was proposed by the way of use of small, minority, woman-owned businesses, service-disabled vets, actually occurs. And that's what that contract compliance work is. It is that check on the back end. It is the piece that really gives some teeth. People can say, I'm going to use 20% small business, but if nobody ever really checks it, are they really? So you need that contract compliance process in place to ensure that what's promised occurs. And then dispute resolution or relationship management. We know that sometimes businesses who are in bed together, delivering a service to Metro, will disagree on some things. We like to try and mitigate those situations as much as we can to ensure that the relationship that you've developed, the commitment that you've made to Metro in terms of use of small, minority, or women-owned businesses, if you're a prime, that you're able to carry that through. And sometimes it requires what I call a good old-fashioned sit down. We just need to sit down, talk about it, go through it, and make sure that those relationships remain intact, those business relationships. Okay, so the Procurement Non-Discrimination Program. It is the outreach-based program that Jeff talked about at the very beginning of this session. It requires, and it is driven by the code, by the procurement code. I guess you guys have kind of gotten that the code is like, it's the procurement Bible for us, right? It tells us everything we can and can't do. The procurement code lays out the very specific details of this program, and it requires that everybody who submits an offer to Metro for either construction work, non-construction work, or for professional services, that they reach out in good faith to at least 3 certified minority or women-owned businesses. They've got to do it. It's a deal breaker if they don't do it. It's a pass-fail, and it basically means that you've comply with the requirements of the program to see if those businesses may participate. And again, it's an outreach-based program that often results in utilization. So we've seen our numbers increase under this program slightly, and basically what it does for us is it ensures that the people we're doing business with have engaged in a non-discriminatory business activity as contractors to the city of Nashville. So it's an important part of what we do. The code that created the Procurement Non-Discrimination Program also created the Business Assistance Office. So I guess what, 2008, 2007, Mayor Dean enacted the Procurement Non-Discrimination Program, and so we've been operating the program during that time with relative success. The Small Business Program is designed for small businesses and service-disabled veteran-owned businesses. Now, this is the incentive-based program that Jeff talked about as well. It is, a cost incentive-based program. If you are an approved small business with Metro, that means you've provided us with the documents that we need to get you approved, then your representation as a prime contractor or a subcontractor in the procurement process is going to receive a cost incentive, or it'll pass a requirement of minimum participation. Not every single solicitation will have a cost incentive. There's some that we can't, for example, architecture and engineering contracts, we can't receive cost on those based upon state law. But what we'll say here in Metro is we want to see X% of small business participation. Not minority woman-owned, small business. Not to get those two confused. Again, two separate programs. They'll both live in the process, in the procurement process, but they are separate. Procurement Non-Discrimination Program is pass-fail. Small Business Service-Disabled Veteran-Owned Business Program is an incentive-based program or a requirement-based program. And the way that that works typically is, we're looking at all aspects of your offer to Metro, but we want to see that you've brought at least, in some situations, a minimum level of participation, or based on what you did bring, we're going to incent your cost or discount your cost based upon the amount of small business that you've brought to the table. Again, I encourage you to take a look at the procurement regulations. It gives you really good information about how your small business participation is incented in the process. We have a cap. We can't incent 100% of your cost, but we can incent a certain percent, and the procurement regulations tell us what that number is. So take a look at it, familiarize yourself with it, and I will tell you that we've seen a number of solicitation responses where it really boiled down to the small business. They're competing neck and neck on all other aspects of their offer, but when it comes down to it, the small business can make a difference. So there's a benefit to being approved as a small business and making sure that you understand how that program works within the procurement process. If you have any questions about it, feel free to contact us. We're happy to talk with you about it, knowing that if you're calling us about a specific solicitation, there's going to be a limit to exactly how much information we can give you, but we can provide you with a general understanding of how the programs work. On the business development side of things, we offer a number of training classes that really help you to better understand how to do business with the city and how to engage yourself in a more effective way so that you can be more competitive. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail, as well as contract compliance and procurement technical assistance. Some of the business development and outreach details that, or activities that we engage are, again, participation at all program applicable pre-bid or pre-offer meetings. If you see a solicitation come out, and Rick has really walked through that process of, how you can see what we're seeking to buy. If you see a solicitation and you don't offer exactly what that solicitation is seeking to procure, take a look at it anyway. You may be an interior design person, or you may be a painter, but Metro's looking for somebody to build a building. While you're not that construction person, painting is going to be a part of that. So I would encourage you to always make sure that you come to the pre-offer meetings and use those pre-offer meetings as a networking opportunity. It allows you to, one, become more familiar with the solicitation and what we're seeking. It allows you also to see who the players are. You know, who's the buyer, who's buying what types of things, and you'll see those kinds of trends as you come to more and more pre-offer meetings. But it also allows you to see who, as a prime contractor, is expressing interest in the solicitation. And it allows you then to make some contacts and some connects. Now, what will happen is that typically there's a sign-in sheet at all of these pre-offer meetings, and you should request that sign-in sheet, a copy of it, because then you have a record of who was there and how you can make contact with them to potentially forge partnerships. Something that you may see happen here more and more often is that we'll move to, you know, we're living in an increasingly electronic world. So we'll be using GoToMeeting some as our medium for having some of these pre-offer meetings. And you can kind of access that and the information from wherever you are. So look for the different ways that we'll be trying to support business processes and what Metro seeks to achieve, but using a more innovative approach to doing that. Another business development and outreach tactic that we use is we do one-on-one consultations. Again, if you have a question, if you don't understand how something works, if you think that something worked in a way that it shouldn't have, you know, if you think something was awry, feel free to contact us. We're happy to sit down with you one-on-one. We'll talk with you about whatever the issue was. We'll talk with you about how we buy certain things. Rick talked to you about our E-PAV system. You know, E-PAV is going to be a good tool for you because if you sell something and you want to know, well, when is Metro going to be buying this? Well, you can look up on E-PAV and see when the last contract that we let for that particular thing was, and have some sense of when you can expect to be seeing it again. If, in the interim of that, one of the things that we're happy to do for you is to provide you with copies of the contract for the current contract for services. So if a solicitation is on the street and you want to know, well, who won it the last time, and what did their response look like, and what does the contract look like, we can provide that for you. And we can also provide you with a space to sit down and take a look at it if we can't provide it for you electronically. So any kind of question or issue you have, please feel free to contact us. We also have an annual business symposium. Our symposium this year is scheduled for June. Information will start going out for that in the next 3 weeks. And that is our opportunity, our major annual event where we try to provide you with good information, good tactics. We like to give you meat. We're, you know, I always say I'm not one of those, let's not meet for the sake of meeting. Let's not have a trade fair where you walk around and you collect a bunch of paper and a bunch of squishy things and you leave and you go, who did I really meet? What business contact did I really make? And I think that happens a lot where people leave those trade shows and, you know, they don't really have anything tangible. We like to provide you with something tangible that's going to benefit your business, a real takeaway for you. And our symposium is our opportunity to do that. We typically have pit stops where you have one-on-one time with industry professionals, whether it's an accounting person or an attorney or a marketing professional, somebody that you can ask questions to. We do have an opportunity for you to network during that, but we also try to provide you with some training that is going to be beneficial to your business, not just to your business doing business with the city, but as a business doing business with other buying entities as well. We want you to be competitive and a viable competitor within the Metro Nashville market, the Middle Tennessee market. And we also participate in other agency outreach activities. So you'll see us here, you know, doing our thing, but you'll also see us supporting our partners, collaborating with different folks. We've got some of our resource partners are here today, collaborating with the Nashville Business Incubation Center, for one, collaborating with, you know, the Tennessee Latin American Chamber of Commerce, with the Black Chamber of Commerce, different folks, with the Small Business Administration, helping you to better leverage your time and the resources. We know that small business owners typically, you know, you're doing everything. You know, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the estimating, you know, you're out in the field doing the work. And as much as we can help you leverage your time and make the best benefit of it without having to play whack-a-mole, let me go to this event, now let me go to that event, now let me go to this event and do this so I can get my name out there. We want to do that, so we try to collaborate as much as we can. And we're using social media. So, how many folks are on Twitter? Wow. Let me ask again, how many folks are on Twitter? A few more hands came up, not a whole bunch more. You should follow us on Twitter. Should I not give away? Should I give away? Should I say? Okay. At Metro BAO, follow us on Twitter. Good information. We share information from our partners, but we also give you some good tidbits that we think business owners often need. Rick talked about, you know, the struggle, and I've not been a business owner, so I don't have that firsthand experience, but we deal with a whole bunch of them, and we hear a lot of different stories about some of the issues. And sometimes we give you a little tidbit just to kind of, as a business owner, give you a spark in the day to help you. It takes you 3 seconds to read it, retweet it to your friends. Sometimes we're telling you about an event that's going on that could be beneficial to you. So follow us on Twitter and use that as an opportunity and as a method to stay connected with partners and stakeholders. Let me talk really quickly about contract compliance. Javal's walking up and down the side of the room, which kind of means I'm talking too long and I need to hurry up. I know what that means. I know that look too. I would be walking too if I could figure out how to make the clicker click. From the standpoint of contract compliance, what we do here in the Business Assistance Office is we act as an advocate for small and disadvantaged businesses pre and post award of the procurement process. And what that means is, you know, we are involved in that procurement process from a pre-award standpoint. We're there working to address issues that are of specific pertinence to small and disadvantaged, minority, woman-owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned businesses. And that process really kind of sets the stage for how we're engaging post-award. There's some pre-award activities that have to be engaged in. If somebody comes in and says, I'm going to use Alliance Synergy, is that right? And I'm going to use her as a woman-owned business at 15%. We're not just going to take that. We're going to confirm with her that it's there, but we're also going to require at the end of the solicitation process and as the very first contract compliance activity that that prime contractor sign a letter of intent to subcontract. So that is the first compliance activity that we engage. We serve on all the procurement review committees as non-voting members in an advisory capacity and as a compliance review or as a compliance reviewer. And then the post-award contract compliance work entails really looking at the commitment made by those prime contractors to use small, minority, and woman-owned businesses. Shall we dance? Made by the prime contractors, and ensuring that they achieve that through the life of the contract. Again, it's not sufficient for us, and we're not complying with what the code dictates for us if we simply allow, you know, you to say, I'm going to use somebody, but then we don't actually check it. We've got to do that in order to really comply with what the code lays out for disadvantaged businesses. I can't say it one time. I was going to say it fast 5 times, but I can't say it once. We receive utilization documentation from our prime contractors in the form of canceled checks, proof of wire transfers, et cetera. We don't want them to do like one of our contractors did and bring a box. Got a box this big full of payment documents. We're going to go through it. But, you know, that is the process that we use to ensure that what they said they would do, they actually do. And that contract compliance work is important to our process. So the contacts for BAO are listed above. And if I can get folks from the BAO office to kind of stand up so that you can be recognized in the back in the blue blazer with the yellow and the snazzy bow tie is Brian Gleason. He manages the contract compliance process that we just talked about. The black and white here with the glasses, Deborah Robinson. She is a business development and outreach assistant. She works with Jerval Watson who's walking out of the room in business development and outreach activities. You met Judy earlier, and Joanne Carr is our procurement technical assistant specialist. Phone numbers and emails are included. This is going to be included on our website. All of the links in here will be interactive. So if you want to email one of us, you should be able to just click on it, and it will, create an email draft for you. Feel free to contact us. Talk to us about any issues that you have, any questions. We're here to serve you. It is our job, but it's something that all of us enjoy doing and have a passion for doing. So don't feel like your question is too small. Don't feel like we're too busy. We are busy, but we're busy helping folks like you guys. So make sure that you reach out to us and let us know how we can assist you. Okay, so they promised that it would be busy. But before it gets busy, Rick wants to talk some more. So I'm going to give him the microphone.
Very quickly, I promise. I didn't give you my contact information. It's rick.brown@nashville.gov. If you have any issues, please feel free to call me. Another thing that I said earlier in mine, when we talked about the net 15, I said just small and service disabled. I did not mean to leave out the minority and women owned. It's small, service disabled, minority and women owned, all get net 15.
Thank you. As well as nonprofits, small nonprofits as well. Okay, procurement trivia. Who drives this boat? Jerval drives procurement trivia. Well, you all know I like for you to move, so you better be ready. Hopefully everyone got a lot of information today, and we're still going to have questions and answers. But before we get to that, we want to find out what you've learned today. So I need volunteers. We'll start with one from each side of the room. Is anybody willing to play procurement trivia with us? Come on. Mr. Rick Brown, the assistant purchasing agent, is going to roll the dice for us. Don't leave. Don't leave. Now, don't leave yet, because you want to get your questions answered, and we will be here to answer questions. And we'll make sure that we stay within the allotted time. Can I get a volunteer from this side of the room, please? Come on. Oh, my phone. All right, Mr. Brown will roll the dice, and depending upon what color the dice lands on upright, we'll determine the area of question.
Orange.
Since you volunteered first, I'm sorry, what's your name?
My name is Shonda Falcon with Falcon's Contracting.
Wonderful. You will be in the area of procurement methodologies. This usually results from ITBs.
ID, what you call them, ITIBs? Indefinite IDIQ, indefinite delivery and indefinite quantity. That's incorrect. Okay. Would you like to try?
Pass.
You can't pass, Corey. This usually results from ITBs.
Somebody knows?
We're on the same team.
Okay, next question. Mr. Brown, would you roll the dice? Blue. Blue is iSupplier. Every supplier must register in
iSupplier.
Right. One for you. Roll it again, please, sir. Orange. Procurement methodologies. What is Bob?
Oh, I wrote it down.
Yeah.
Oh, she's not on my team? Man, it's because I'm up here. It's because I can't think of what it is.
You know this one?
Business Opportunities Bulletin.
That is correct. I'm sorry? Bulletin Opportunities Board. No, Business Opportunities Board. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Business Opportunities Bulletin.
Thank you. Roll the dice, Mr. Brown.
White.
Business Assistance Office. Y'all better get all of these correct. What is the BAO Twitter handle?
At Metro BAO.
Very good. Okay, 2 more questions. Mr. Brown? Blue. iSupplier question. The username for iSupplier is your?
Email.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Another dice roll, please, sir. White. Business Assistance Office. PMP requires outreach to?
Small women, minority business, service disabled businesses. All of them, right?
I can't help you.
It's procurement non-discrimination program, so it reaches out to all of them.
2 distinct programs.
Oh.
Ma'am. Thank you.
So, the women and minority.
Very good. Okay, so we need a trivia off.
A trivia off.
Woo, blue. iSupplier. You are notified of solicitations according to your?
The category that you select.
Be more specific.
Vanna.
Services that you can provide. I don't know the official name, but you list your services that you can provide, and that determines what you're notified on.
Are we willing to accept that?
I think he gave a lot of effort now.
Okay, we'll accept it.
So known as your
Products and services.
Products and services.
Exactly, thank you. Okay, well, we got to, one more time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were done.
Somebody's got to miss something.
I could have found it on the form.
Whoa, blue.
you like blue now.
You can contact the iSupplier team at?
iSupplier at nashville.gov.
Somebody, can one of you all miss, please? Good job. Come on, Rick, we got to go again. Roll good. Sir? Orange is procurement methodologies. A protest must be filed within
10 days.
Way to go.
Very good. 10 days on protest, 7 days on appeals.
That was going to be another question, ma'am. Orange. I won't. Contracts. Strike that from the list. POs and contracts have?
Terms and conditions.
Y'all are smart.
Right. I'm going to have to make y'all sit down. Okay.
You both won.
Thank you for participating in the game. Roland Photography will provide one of you all with a headshot, and Denora Brands will provide the other one with an audit of their branding. So thank you for playing. And now we have questions and answers. If I could get Michelle, Rick, and Starla to come forward, please ask any questions that you generated throughout this training. We will start with the gentleman in the back because he did have the very first question. Please do not hesitate. Your question may be someone else's question they may have forgotten or unwilling to ask, so please answer any question that you may have.
So you need the microphone?
Yes, I'm going to walk it if y'all use this one.
Okay, will do.
Yes, please, sir.
How do you define convenience as it relates to the termination of a contract?
That's pretty much if Metro decides that they want to terminate the contract.
Out of sheer
That's right.
Rick, pull the mic forward, please.
I'm sorry.
Anyone else?
Did everybody hear that?
Okay.
Does Nashville Metro utilize GSA contracts to purchase?
Is that the federal? We haven't usually really used the federal as one of our cooperative contracts, so no. If it's related to a statewide contract, we might use that as a cooperative.
Could you elaborate a little bit on Metro's policy as it relates to subcontractors working for your contracted vendors? How does your procurement policy kind of trickle down to their position?
Do you mean in terms of the applicability of the terms and conditions? Typically whatever is, I'll start first by saying that from the standpoint of the responsible party, Metro's direct relationship is typically with that prime contractor. Now, we do see the applicability of our programs as it affects that subcontractor relationship. So you will see us be more involved from the standpoint of small, minority, woman-owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned business participation. But the terms and conditions that are in the contract are primarily the responsible party would be that prime contractor. Now, that prime contractor is going to ensure, or should be, that anybody who's working on their team as a subcontractor is complying with those terms and conditions as well. Now, from the standpoint of bonding specifically, bonding on various projects, whatever the, insurance, whatever the insurance requirements are, usually our risk manager wants to see that the subcontractors are able to, that they have similar limits. But, again, the prime contractor is that primary responsible party. They are responsible for delivering the work within the constraints that have been set forth by Metro, within the time frame that has been expressed by Metro and to which they have promised in their offer. They should then be having direct working relationships with their subcontractors to ensure that they comply with those as well. But we still will have a good old-fashioned sit-down with some subs and primes sometimes, depending on the issue. Again, more prevalent with our small, minority, woman-owned, our service-disabled, veteran-owned businesses. Yeah.
Okay. When Rick spoke on the specific terms and conditions, payment terms, what did he mean by net 15 and net 30?
That's the amount of time that we have from the time that we have a complete invoice to pay you.
That's what now?
To pay you.
Yeah. Oh. It's actually
15.
It's actually, it depends on the invoice date. So if you're net 15, it calculates by the invoice date. So it'll pay you net 15 after the invoice date. So if the invoice date is March the 1st and you're net 15, your payment is due on March the 15th.
Well, suppose you're a small business and you would like to have it within less than 30 days. That won't change?
If you're an approved small business, then you do get net 15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Any of the classifications that are approved, they receive net 15.
You mentioned pre-offer meetings. How often are those? Is there a calendar of when those happen, and how are people notified?
The buyer is responsible for setting up a pre-offer meeting for each solicitation that they're doing. So it should be stated in the solicitation exactly where, when, and how you're supposed to get there. So everything is supposed to be included in the solicitation. There will be some where, like if we're buying that chair and there's not really any risk to it and there's not questions that might be coming up about that, we may not have a pre-offer meeting. But for the most part, if there's risk involved to Metro or there's questions, or there's even possibility for the networking of subs and primes and that kind of thing at the pre-offer meeting. So for the most part, we will have those.
How are those typically structured? Is there a set process that people kind of just come and watch them?
The vendors come, and there's usually a set PowerPoint that the buyer goes through to just pretty much explain the solicitation, and then the department is there to give their take of the scope of work of what we're looking for from the vendors. The vendors have a chance there to ask questions, and they may be answered, but for the most part, the questions have to be submitted formally online for there to be a written amendment done to the solicitation to answer those questions. So any answer that might be given at the pre-offer will not be binding. You have to ask that question online to be able to get a binding answer from Metro for that.
If I could just add to that also, typically, my husband says I don't ever need a microphone. Typically, a business assistance office representative will be there, and we will ask usually for any small minority, woman-owned, service-disabled, vet-owned businesses to identify themselves, and that gives you a good opportunity during that pre-offer meeting to further network.
Do you require the general contractor to hire a certain percentage of the subcontractors from the minority, woman, or?
It depends, and let me make sure that I distinguish. You will never see us require a certain percentage of minority or woman-owned business participation. We cannot legally do it. You know, we've had the factual predicate studies, the disparity studies, et cetera, to see what we can do legally, and requiring a certain percentage or setting a goal on a locally originated contract won't happen. I make that distinction because there are some contracts or projects that we will let that are passed through the Tennessee Department of Transportation, and they fall under the federal regulations, which will require us to have a DBE goal. That goal can only be filled by certified DBEs under CFR 4926. So, you know, the quick answer is no on minority, woman-owned. Now, on small business and service-disabled, veteran-owned business, we have more latitude to set aside just for small business competition, or to say on this specific project, we want to see you come to the table with 20% small business. We can do that. The purchasing agent is authorized by the procurement code and the regulations to set a minimum participation level for small and service-disabled, veteran-owned businesses. If that is the case, you will see it specified in the solicitation. It'll say how much that percentage is, and it'll tell you whether it's a requirement, meaning the prime contractor has to hit it, or if it's a threshold. A threshold means you've got to hit that, you've got to propose or offer that amount of small business before you even can get the incentive. If you don't offer at least that percentage, the incentive won't apply. So take a look at the solicitation. It will tell you how we're going to apply program. It'll tell you the percentage and the methodology that we'll use. But typically not a minority, woman-owned, because we can't legally do it.
My question is about specifications, and how are specifications derived at, or where do they come from?
The specifications are usually given to us from the departments. When they submit their scope of work, if there are specifications, we get those. They are attached to the solicitation usually as part of the solicitation. The buyer will read those and work with the department to get the scope of work and the specifications down to what we think they need to be before the solicitation is issued. But it's all right there with the solicitation.
Any other questions?
In the case of a appeal, a protest, and the original decision is overturned, what recourse does the original winner have at that point?
What recourse does the original winner have?
Yes.
No, you said from an appeal or the original protest?
Protest, or either one.
Well, so you protested, I won, you protested, it was overturned.
Right.
I, as the original winner, can now review that process, and I can protest. So it really can go back and forth. Yeah. Okay.
A protest is for anyone that feels like they've been grieved in the process.
Now define grieved, but
in other words, you can turn one in if you want to.
But he was asking what happens with the person who originally won. Have they just lost standing now? But they haven't. You still have standing.
10 days.
Correct. From the date of that protest note of that protest decision.
I believe it was announced in the beginning that the PowerPoint will be handed out at the end of the training today.
Ma'am, it'll be available on our website.
Oh, on the website. Okay. Now, oh, I'm just having a senior moment here. Wait a second. Oh, did someone say that a contract that had been approved would be available for prospective vendors to review as a sample of how it should be presented?
With the solicitation, there's a copy of the contract attached each time.
I see.
So you would be able to review that, and there's a section in the RFP, the request for proposal, for you to say whether or not you agree with that contract. Again, if you don't, the evaluation committee can use that in their scoring. But if you have an issue, then you need to let us know at that point. It doesn't need to wait until you get the contract in DocuSign to sign for us to work out the issues.
Additionally, if you're interested in seeing the previous contract, so you're seeing something on the street for a certain service and you want to see what the last contractor's contract looked like and their response that got them the contract, you can request that and we can provide it for you.
Or you can look on E-PAV. Once we have it out here, yeah, that will be something that will be available to you.
Did you say there was a current list of active contracts there?
There is a current Excel spreadsheet out there of active contracts with Metro.
Where is that located?
I was going to show you, we've got the internet pulled up. We can't actually get to the Bob site, but I was going to show you how to at least get to our website, if that's okay.
Please do.
As you can see here, when you hit services, you can scroll over the ones I usually go to find Metro departments, and that brings up this list, alphabetized list of departments. If you scroll down to finance and click on the plus sign, the second thing there is the business opportunities bulletin. That will take you directly to that screen. If you scroll on down, there's a section, as you can see, for minority and women business assistants, the BAO office, as well as the procurement office. If you go to, I'm going to take you to the business assistants. The business opportunities bulletin. It's got a page. And as you can see, there's inside iSupplier and outside iSupplier. If you click on inside iSupplier, it's going to take you to a screen which I can't show you. That's the part we can't get to. It will take you to a screen that shows the list of all the solicitations and who the buyer is. So you can get to that person if you have a question about it. There's also a button on there for login to the system. Now I wanted to show you over here on the left-hand side, you'll see About Us. If you click on that and scroll down to the bottom, you can see there's a PDF of the procurement regulations and the procurement code. It's not a PDF, but it takes you into the procurement code. Those things are very important to you.
Show them the contracts.
The active contracts list, if you look on the right-hand side over here, it says active contracts list. I don't know if that's going to come up or not. There's an Excel spreadsheet. Looks like it might open there. Or maybe not. Either way, that's how you get there. And it's an Excel spreadsheet that you can search, you can manipulate however you want to figure out what contracts it is that you need. And then also, I'm going to leave that running. There it is. As you can see, it's just an Excel spreadsheet that has all the different components of it that you can search and do whatever it is that you need to do.
And that provides you with the information that you need should you decide that you want to take a look at that contract. You've got the contract number, who the contractor is, and et cetera, and you can request it.
I will say that list is only as good as a human in our office can keep it. So it's I will say fairly good, but it's not as good as what you will get with E-PAV when we have it out there and it'll be real time. It'll have the information that you need. Now I did want to show you, Michelle, I didn't know if you wanted to talk about the business assistants.
We're going to email everyone who's here a link. It will be a link to our website where the presentation will be. We hope that you will then take that as an opportunity to kind of, you know, walk around the site, see some things that are there if you've never been there. It'll have our Twitter information on there. We encourage you to follow us via Twitter. And, you know, again, if you have any questions after going through the site, you know, and we want to warn you that probably in about a 3-week period, our sites are going to look different because we're overhauling them right now. But if you have any questions, if something sparks your interest and you want to know more, feel free to contact us so that we can, you know, have a sit-down, a one-on-one consultation with you and answer your questions.
Yes, sir.
How does the type of business that you have, how does that affect your, how does the type of business that you have, if it's a small business or disabled owned business, how does that affect you getting awarded a proposal that you submitted?
So I think, if I understand your question correctly, if you are a small business and you are submitting an offer to Metro, you can receive an incentive in the review process for invitations to bid, or you can receive an incentive in the evaluation of your cost for RFPs. So if you are approved as a small or a service-disabled veteran-owned business, then you see that being manifest in those processes, in those various processes. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're a construction company or you're a, you know, landscape architect. You know, it doesn't matter. We approve all types of businesses. We've got 14 different categories of industry types that you can fall into with varying levels of maximum sales and maximum numbers of employees. As long as we have approved you as a small business on one of those, and or if you are approved by the Governor's Office of Diversity Business Enterprise as a Nashville-based service-disabled veteran-owned business, you're eligible to receive that incentive if the solicitation specifies that an incentive is offered. So you want to make sure you read the solicitation, see what incentive is offered, how it's offered, and then make sure, the first thing you want to do is make sure you're approved if you're eligible, and then you'd be able to take advantage of that incentive.
So is it weighed on a point system by the type of business that you are? Like, if you're blind, so to speak, like, you get a higher level
so
of approval rate?
Are you asking specifically about blind?
Well, there's a rumor that if you're a blind-owned business, a lot of times you automatically win if nobody else in that category. For food service type solicitations, Tennessee state law requires that blind vendors, as they call them, get the first right of refusal. So basically what would happen is they'd have to turn it down. You know, and then if there's no availability within that, then you would probably see that being let out under a normal circumstance. But they have to have the first right of refusal. Okay. So do you understand, though, the process for other than blind vendors? Right.
Okay, do you want to add anything to that?
I think more than anything, what she said was read the solicitations. The solicitations go with, I mean, they have a lot of language in them that's pretty standard language. But read that. Read everything. Make sure that you understand exactly how the buyer and the department have put that together.
If we could take this, we'll take this last question if you don't mind.
So all of these are solicitations for over 10,000. What about the under 10,000? How do we find out about those? Do they just contact us through by our service code, product and service codes that are entered in, or how do we find out about those?
There's a lot of different ways that the departments notify who they want to get quotes from on that. They can look at the product and services codes. They could already have a list that they've put together. They could look on the internet. My suggestion to you would be to put your name out there with the departments that might have a solicitation or might be buying something that you provide. Make sure your name is there and associated. They are associating that with that product when they go to buy it. We don't have any problem. We don't have any say-so in those solicitations. So it's up to you to make sure that your name gets out there and that they know that you've got that available.
Go ahead. Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, it's really a marketing technique for you, and it's what we encourage. What we try to provide is a list of those departments and their delegated purchasing levels. I was looking on the website to see if I could find it for you, but we can make sure that we can make that available to you. But you know, what you really should do is kind of determine which of those departmental contacts are buying what you sell. Like we have, you know, folks who do promotional items, you know, and some departments buy those more than other departments. But the folks who sell promotional items, they know which departments are buying it. The issue for them is making sure that they always know who the contact is in the department, because, you know, people come and go in departments. But you'll learn which departments are buying certain kinds of things, and making sure, like Rick said, that they know who you are, you know, that you know, contact them even before they have a need. Because most of them are trying to get their work done, you know, the best way that they can. And if they already have a name, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 names, then it's easy for them to pull 3 and get quotes and try and get the best quote within the budget that they have for it.
We're actually going to close the formal part of this training. Many of us will be around for you to ask any additional questions. But before we depart, I want to give you a few housekeeping information. We want to thank you for coming today. We hope that you benefited from this training. You learned a lot of information, and we look forward to those that are not currently registered with us to becoming registered with us, and those that are currently registered with us to continue to update their account and make sure that you all stay abreast of the bids that are coming out. We also would like to invite you to a networking event this evening at Cabana from 4:30 to 6. We're partnering with the Nashville Incubation Center, the Tennessee Latin American Chamber. Raise your hand, please. The Tennessee Latin American Chamber and the Nashville Black Chamber, as well as Nissan, to provide that opportunity. We want to make sure that you have the opportunity to network with your colleagues and peers so that you can do business together as well as with others.
And I want to just take a moment to recognize, we've got some colleagues here from the Small Business Administration. LaTanya Channel, Deputy District Director for the SBA, and Keena Dixon, Queen of all trades at the SBA. So if you have any questions for, you know, the U.S. Small Business Administration, there's some folks here who can assist you.
As well as Carla Curley from Nashville Incubation Center. Is Angela still here? Okay, and actually Marcella had to step out for a meeting, but they will be at the event this evening. And to reiterate something that Michelle shared with you earlier, we are working really hard to partner with other resource organizations. So make sure, as she stated, follow us on Twitter, follow them on Twitter. We are all working together to get each other's information out so that you know when there's training opportunities, networking opportunities, just any type of education opportunity, period. So you want to make sure that you are following us on our websites or communicating with us, because there are a plethora of events, and we're working together to make sure that, like she said, you don't have to play hopscotch and get to everything, but kind of just come and get, as we say, collaborate together and get in one place and just meet and greet. Please mark your calendars for April 8th. We're having a certification training that will include SBA for 8A certification, TSMSDC, the Governor's Office of Diversity. They're going to answer any questions that you may have if you're not clear on who you need to be certified with or why or when. So you want to definitely put that on your calendar, as well as May 5th. We will have a 7-day social media makeover training, and we will be pairing with the Tennessee Latin American Chamber and a couple other chambers for a Cinco de Mayo event. So again, we thank you. We're here if you need us. We hope that you will continue to come to our trainings and learn information and meet and greet. Please be sure to fill out the survey that was sent around. It will help us help you later, make sure that we provide the trainings on information that you need. So please fill those out and leave them with us. Again, we thank you and have a wonderful rest of the day.
And if you didn't sign in, stop.
I'm sorry, if you did not sign in, please sign in at the table. That helps us reach out to you. When you entered, if you did not sign in, please check with the registration desk. Thanks so much. Oh, please, Ashley Northerton, thank you for the brand audit and Roland Photography. Thanks.
Not as good as